think you ought to know. That Men's Radio. The place where men and women really speak. Oh man, what a show. It's Men's Radio. This crazy show is on 3 times a week. Now Russ and Phil are there to help with all your cares. We laugh, we cry, we talk like grown-ups do. But if you're sad and low, it won't cost you no dough. Men's Radio, that's the place for you. With Russ Kane and Phil Dave.
Well, there's a mistake straight away. Ha! I say, Phil who? Phil, yesterday's man. Phil, I don't remember him very clearly. Phil, I never liked him. Something about him. I thought his eyes were too close together. Anyway, he's doing something. Jonathan McDonald, this is adorable. Hello, mate. That's just between me and Hillary O'Neill. You know him. No, before I do that, thank you. Oh, let's dash across to Manhattan. Let's go straight away to Manhattan. Good morning, Elizabeth Green. It's 7 a.m. in Manhattan, and it's midday here, and it's raining. And I've been to the vet. She's not speaking to me. I mean the dog. The dog clearly is not speaking to me. Because today, if you're having your lunch, you may want to block your ears. Today was Anal Glands Day. Ooh. I feel kind of guilty. I do. But having been to a proctologist many times myself, it's only fair. Anyway, she's much better, thank you. And then the vet goes, I think she may need all her teeth out. Not some of her teeth, all her teeth. I'm going, well, how the bloody hell is she supposed to eat? No. Anyway, apparently it works. So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. He says, the vet says, this is 9 o'clock in the morning. The vet says, I'll give you an estimate. I swear to God, they nearly had to bring smelling salts. I got the estimate. I think my last car cost less. Holy God. So I'm thinking about it, gang. I'm thinking about it. Julie Voice, formerly of Houston, Texas, where my son lives, although he doesn't live in Houston, and now of Guildford. Julie Voice, hello, everyone. Probably doesn't talk like that, but it'll work for the purposes of this. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday to all. I booked my ticket for your afternoon show, but now why does it all the cool kids will be going in the evening? Baby, where you are, it's Iceland. It's so cool. I've never met her. I don't know. Could be ghastly. Who the hell knows? Probably a very nice woman. Luke Newman. Good morning, Rob. Hang on a minute. I'll get on to you in a minute. We're talking about me now. This isn't the Luke Newman channel. What have you ever done for me? Yeah. I like that attitude. Jonathan will be with you in a sec. What the lovely Julie Voice, well, I say she's lovely. We make an assumption here. We don't know. What she's saying is that my show, unwise, unwise, but not illegal. That's the name of the show. It's my stand-up at the German Street Theatre on Sunday, the 5th of November. The 3 o'clock show is now sold out. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the gang at German Street, especially Penny Horner, doing such a fabulous job. But we've added an extra show. We've added a 6 o'clock show. That's Sunday the 5th. You can go on the German Street Theatre website and you can book. That's the way you do it. Right. Where is Phil hiding? Phil is hiding from me at the moment. That's all I've got to say on the subject. Graham Pack, regarding my little Ebony and having had teeth removed. I have a... Graham, no, that's just horrible. What is this? I can't go at all. Your cue. Take less drugs, Elizabeth. That's my advice. Now, you know him. You love him. He is one of the most astute theatre critics I've ever met. Because I'm going to discuss this with him in a second. Please welcome Mr. Jonathan Bears.
Russ, Good afternoon. Great to be
Good
with you.
afternoon to you, fella. I've got a question before we kick into your theatre review, which I love, by the way. It strikes me that some theatre critics just say that everything's marvelous, and it's like you go and say they can't all be fantastic, can they? And other theatre critics just hate. Doesn't matter what they see, they hate it because it's about them, not about the show. Where are you on all this?
I hear what you say, and I would say there are some great theatre critics out there. I may disagree with them, but that's all part of healthy debate, etc., etc. But I think of Clive Davis in the Times. I think of Libby Purvis, who writes her own independent review column, like myself.
Oh, yes.
Who are fantastic. There are some who are. I'd also lob in Fiona Mountford, actually, another wise voice. Yeah, some people I would say, particularly in the more unregulated online community that's been thrown up and available ever since the interweb was invented, that you get people who.
Why do people call that the interweb? I've never understood it.
Is
it a joke, or is it actually called the interweb?
Newfangled thing ever since it's replaced baked bean cans and string.
Oh, well, we love those.
And you get people whose idea of a theatre review is little more than an 11-year-old's school child essay of my trip to the theatre, which is frankly ghastly. Equally, there are critics who will praise just in the hope of getting free tickets from the PR industry, because they know that XYZ on their website will write lovely things about the show, even if it's ghastly. And that way, that person gets their entertainment subsidized in return for giving their opinions, which are never critical. My motivation in writing is to write about what I feel about what I've seen. If it's made me laugh, if it's made me think, if it's made me cry, if it's been disappointing, if it's been garbage. But if I'm going to be harsh on a show, and I'm about to be shortly, you'll be delighted to hear. If I'm going to be harsh on a show, I try and do it with kindness. There was something that I picked out in a show a few years ago that took a rather political swipe at an American president. And I pointed out to the producers that aspects of the show's creation were actually quite wrong and offensive, not from an argument point of view, but what they were inciting. The producer went away, and I can assure you that the producer and I shared differing political viewpoints. And the producer then wrote back to me and said, Jonathan, I think you're right. We're changing the production based on a comment that I put into my review. And that's quite rewarding when you actually get listened to in that way. That was lovely. But let me come on with my first show that I want to talk about. Now, this show actually closed last week. And out of kindness to it, I'm not going to mention its name or its writers or the famous actor that uttered a line that I'm about to refer to. But it was a real disappointment. But in the middle of the play, I found that my review wrote itself. Because whilst most of the writing was disappointing, one character utters this phrase in relation to something that has disappointed him. And he refers to it as a shimmering platter of bollocks on toast. And I just thought that was gorgeous. That to me was.
Oh, you got me. You got me.
That was 5-star writing. And I said,
wait a minute. A shimmering platter of bollocks on toast.
Correct. You've got to admit, that is Shakespeare for the 21st century. It really is. The writer knows.
Oh, that is the line of the week.
Well, it was.
Cracking lines this week. That was the line. Wow.
If you want to know what show I'm talking about, you can find it on jonathanbaz.com. But I'm not going to name and shame here. It doesn't need to. There's no need for that. But I thought that piece, that microcosm of writing from a writer who usually actually is really rather good. I thought that
did come off? Did the show, Jonathan, come off early? Was that?
No, it was only on for a very short run in a very small house, And much like your one-man show that's about to appear, and for which I was very glad that I snapped up the last 2 tickets.
Bless you for coming, man.
Indeed, for cash. You don't know how much that hurt me, Russ.
I know, cash.
Terrible
I won't
thing.
take credit cards. I'm not interested.
It was sold out. It had a sold-out run for its short run at a very small West End venue.
Okay.
But you know, as I started off my review online by saying it's not often that the play writes the review for me, and my final words were bollocks indeed.
Wow.
And
was it clearly not the acting, because it is in all honesty very rare. And I just want to say something else, by the way, before we continue. People say, well, wait a minute, this is a radio station about mental health and well-being. It is my genuine, true belief that art in all its forms is very important for your mental health and very important for your well-being. Or we are just drones staring at screens, as I do, for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and we never do anything. So if people are critical, saying, well, you're not talking about mental health, you're not talking about... No, we are. We are, because I think that art, with you with the theatre, with Chantal in a bit, with films and television, is really very key, and it's a factor in our mental health. And I will argue that till the cows come home. What I was going to say to you, Jonathan, it's very rare, and I can't think of the last time, to be honest, where you go to a theatrical production anywhere in the United Kingdom and the acting's terrible. I mean, I've never come out and said, oh, God, who the hell was that? You know, the producer's friend or something. Because it's never the acting, it's only ever the script or the way that it's staged. But would you agree with that?
Broadly, yeah. I mean, every now and then you do come across a person who is an absolute dork of a performer. but you're right, Russ. Usually,
oh, he's gone. Where's he gone? A little tinker. Oh, you're back now. You're back.
I will try usually to focus my criticisms where they're due. If it's on the creative team, or wherever the criticism is deserved, because also the actors have to go out there night after night, which is quite a massive mental energy.
Huge.
You know, the writers write their thing, put it up there.
They're done. They're finished.
You know,
that's it. Do you ever feel, Jonathan, from a and this is a sort of well-being viewpoint, that you have the power to, I'll put it politely, to put a lot of people very quickly out of work? And I'm not being facetious. You know, the days of the great Clive Barnes and people like that, who before, especially in New York, they would look at the critics du jour, and if they like them, it was great, we're going to go, because it must be marvelous, because Clive Barnes or whoever likes it. And if they didn't like it, we're not going to go. And you put hundreds of people out of work. It's quite a responsibility, isn't it?
I mean, firstly, thank you for giving me that position of influence. I don't think my voice is that influential. I'm not sure anyone.
But it's a voice.
I'm not sure anyone.
You're putting self down a bit. I think, to be honest, you're being a little bit depreciation. But it has an influence.
If where is my duty of care as a reviewer to? My duty of care broadly is for me to be broadly telling the truth. And if I go and see something that really is, for a variety of reasons, little more than a shimmering platter of bollocks on toast, then I owe it to my readers to say, don't waste your 10, 20, 50, 100, 150 pounds,
150 quid
on a ticket, whatever it is. I just don't think it's worth it. Whereas equally, if you get something like Crazy for You in the West End, which is just gorgeous, go get a ticket. It will take you out of yourself and uplift you and give you a lot of pleasure. So I'll always try, if I'm giving a harsh review, to try and argue my point so that it is not flippant. And there is, of course, a diverse range of opinions. Clive Davis of the Times, lovely guy, good friend, he went to see the is it the Temptations musical? Ain't Too Proud?
Temptations,
Yes,
Ain't Too Proud.
Ain't Too Proud.
Ain't Too Proud.
He did. I loved it. I went along to see that show. Never talked about it here. I went along to see that show for press night, really thinking I didn't know that many Temptations songs apart from mine.
Oh.
Turns out, of course, you knew.
You knew the lot. You knew the entire score.
Soundtrack of my life, and I loved it. It was a different take on Jersey Boys. Of course, Jersey Boys was, of course, about the Four Seasons, but it was that sort of show, jukebox musical. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was done exquisitely. Clive hated it, gave it 2 stars. A number of other broadsheet critics hated it, and it's closing really soon. And that was heartbreaker to read that.
But
because everyone I know who's seen that show, absolutely loved it. And I had a coffee a few weeks ago with the musical director of the show, and you know, he was gutted that the show is closing. And you know, here is that the power of the critic? Is it, you know, to be honest, theatre is fragile post-pandemic. It really is. I've got to be honest. Even if a show is brilliant, theatre is still fragile. But that still shouldn't stop one telling the truth.
Is it? Here's my question for this. I think some of this is to do with snobbery, because I've had these conversations. Someone says, I'm not going to see a jukebox musical. Okay, you know, if you want to go and see a Greek tragedy or Pinter, that's fine. It's not everybody's cup of tea. And because people are on stage for hours yelling at each other, that doesn't make it good drama. I formed my view, Jonathan, and this has to do with my mental attitude towards all of this. When I was at school as a young kid, I won't be at school as an adult, would I? That would be weird even for me. And Dr. Jonathan Miller, the great Jonathan Miller, came to talk to us at school. I was very excited because he was huge then with Dudley Moore, Peter Cook and Alan Bennett and Beyond the Fringe and all of that sort of stuff. He was a very big deal. And I disagreed with absolutely, my little kid sitting at my desk, I disagreed with everything that he said. He had a production on of Shakespeare's The Tempest, which is a fantastic play. All right. And then he started saying, it's not there for me to entertain the middle classes. It's there, you know, sort of for education. And I'm sitting there going, and even then as a kid, I'm thinking, you're talking out your ass, matey, because it's the people, you can't put something on and expect no one to come. They're paying with hard-earned cash. They've gone out, they've worked, they have to make a spending decision. Am I going to come and see this thing? They're entitled to see whatever they want. And if they want to see a jukebox musical where they know all the songs, good for them. Why not? It's their money. They're buying the ticket. You're not. So I don't like this kind of snobbery.
Russ, I completely agree. There is a lot of snobbery. There can occasionally be political snobbery that creeps in. There's certainly artistic snobbery with some critics who hate jukebox musicals and call them lazy from a construction point of view. Well, they ain't lazy from the performer's point of view, whether they're performing something brand new or songs that have been around for 50 years. And frankly, an awful lot of new, fresh writing, and not all of it, and I'm going to come on to some new writing shortly. So much new writing is bollocks on toast, an awful lot of it. And I've seen far too many new musicals, which are little more, and a phrase that I came up with, I hope I can remember it, is, you know, self-indulgent navel gazing. And a load of ballads about why am I miserable? Why can't I find love? Blah, 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 blah. You know,
because you're boring. Because you're a very boring person. That's why nobody likes you. The personality of the coffee table. Shut up about
Rodgers and Hammerstein were geniuses. Look at Carousel, which was
a
heartbreaking show. But what did they touch on? You know, the complicated issue of violence against women, male suicide. Gee whiz, and all set against some banging songs and a rip-roaring love story.
Yep.
Oklahoma, again, another really troubling, difficult moral undertone to the tale, but really good, meaty stuff that you get your teeth into with characters who are absolutely worth the debate in a pub over a pint or two. And, you know, those grand scale musicals, I hope they come back. You know, Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber in their heyday were geniuses. You know, they came up with the idea of turning Joseph into a musical. They only wrote
Who'd
it
have
for
thought of that?
Wow.
It was a school show, wasn't it? It was a school. It was a school play.
Collet Court. Yeah. From there, they then went on to get the backing to write Jesus Christ Superstar as a concept album. And again, the bravery, the balls of those guys to take the Bible and say these stories are flipping fantastic. And then, based on the success of that, Tim Rice, you know, spent the best part of a year researching Argentina and the story of Eva Perón. Who would have thought? I mean, most people in England hadn't heard of Eva Perón before.
It's beyond niche. And I've got to be honest, if someone had come to me and said, I want you to invest in a show. Oh, really? What's it about? Eva Perón in Argentina. Bye. I wouldn't have had the wherewithal. I'd never have done that. Here's a question from Graham Pack. Here's a question which I think is an interesting question. And I'll read it out in case you're listening to the show and not seeing it at the same time. Is it better return on capital for theatre shows a musical or a serious play?
Well, you know, the answer to that, and there are a couple of producer friends of mine who could probably trot out what I'm about to say, is there is no scientific rule. A musical is likely, if it makes it big and successful, look at Cats, look at Les Mis, look at Phantom. Cats, of course, had backer investors, you know, angel investors who've seen their money back hundreds of times over. Cameron McIntosh was able more to get behind Les Mis along with the RSC many years ago, and equally Phantom. But those are, you know, those are the three amazing success stories. Wicked, of course, also turning in phenomenal money.
Couldn't bear it, but I couldn't stand that show.
Plays, I think if a musical works, yeah, it's a franchise that can be rolled out and replicated. And if it works, and if you get the bums on seats, you will make more money on a musical. But the costs of getting that musical off the ground, you only have to think of Max Bialystock and Springtime for Hitler and Funny Boy.
Look at me, I'm wearing a cardboard belt.
And Funny Boy, his musical take on Hamlet, which has yet to be released to the world. The risks behind musicals are massive. Plays, of course, are typically...
The average cost of a musical, and this will stun a lot of people, you're looking at about 5 million to put a big musical on. It's about 5 million.
That's at the low end. I'm guessing that's at the low end. So... I can't answer that question. It needs a producer to really answer that question. Plays, of course, particularly plays with small casts, come still with a development cost and a production cost, etc. But they don't have a band. They don't have a technical crew that's as big as typically a musical may require. So a small cast play would be a safer investing bet. But there is no easy. You get something like Leopoldstadt, which had a massive cast. But again, you know, romped to success, critical success on both sides of the Atlantic. There's no easy answer to that.
So what have you seen recently?
Okay, so what have I seen? So last night I was at the Barbican catching for its final week, because when it opened, this radio show didn't exist, or its radio slot did not exist. And the producers asked if I'd come along and talk about it. I went to see A Strange Loop at the Barbican. It's promoted by the National. It's only over here for the summer, and it's only on for one more week. And to quote from one of the essays in the program of the show, it explores blackness and queerness. It's a musical. It's won all the gongs on Broadway, and it's here for the summer, and it's got one more week. And I have to say, last night in the Barbican, it was packed. Now, I evidently am not black. And as some people may know, I'm also not queer or gay. So it was a play that spoke about.
And just to be clear, sorry to jump in. Just to be clear, that is just in case anybody takes offence, and we live in a world where everybody does when the wind changes direction, Jonathan is using the quotes from the official program and from the advertising of the show. He's not being in any way offensive. I don't think our particular audience would find it offensive, but I'm just pointing it out. That's from their official wording.
Correct. I'm looking as I speak, I'm looking at a photograph that I took of the program, outlining what the show will explore. And I went to see the musical, and I have to say it was a good musical. I was educated in the course of the evening. I was also educated and I was entertained. I found bits of it, honestly, not to my liking. It came with an interesting warning, a trigger warning at the beginning of it. Firstly, it was 16 plus, and it said a strange loop explores the themes around race and sexuality and contains strong language, references to racism, and scenes of an adult nature. And some of what you had to see occasionally in the play was really quite hard to stomach. That being said, the songs were cleverly written, the music was brilliant, the performances across the board were sensational, including one lead guy around whom the whole show revolves. And what really struck me, because I've got no insight into the nuances of the gay community, however, a significant aspect of the production with some brilliant songs touched upon how, if you think about those members of the Black community who may be strongly observant of a Christian faith, and how that faith traditional adherents of that faith would struggle with homosexuality, and the pain that this particular individual, the lead character in the show, went through. So I went into the theatre thinking, okay, what's all this going to be about? Everyone's talking about it. It's the smash hit of Broadway. And I came out of the theatre thinking, well, that was a bloody good musical. There were bits of it that I really didn't like, but the technical standards were outstanding. And it taught me about bits about the world that I did not know before I walked into that theatre. So really, it's, I suspect there are probably still cheap last minute deals available for it, because when I took a look at the bookings for it, there were loads of seats available. For example, a couple of weeks ago when the night I was going, loads of seats. Last night it was packed. So I suspect most people were there on various last minute deals. So in that respect, if you're prepared to literally be broad-minded, it's a very, very good show.
And just remind us, Jonathan, just remind us where it's on again. A Strange Loop.
Barbican. It's actually it's come from Broadway. It's actually badged as a national theatre production, but it's not on at the National. The National, it's taking it under their banner, but they've rented the Barbican to put the show on.
Okay.
Next up is 42nd Street, the musical. Now, I saw this, a good few weeks ago when it opened. This particular production opened, in fact, the tour, which opened, miles away, came to London, came to Sadler's Wells for its major press launch. Saw it then. It was fabulous, and it is fabulous, and it's on the road right now. I'll say where it's playing when I come to the end of talking about it. There have been a few major cast changes, so that some of the headline names have changed, and it's now currently featuring Samantha Womack and Faye Tozer, Michael Praed, and the lovely Les Dennis, who is brilliant on stage.
And such a nice man.
I understand.
He's a lovely, lovely, lovely guy. I mean, he's just, what you see is what you get. He's lovely. Faye Tozer used to be in Steps, if memory serves.
I believe so. Yeah.
And I don't know who anybody else is. That's me.
Now, 42nd Street is, of course, it's that classic Broadway yarn about the star breaks her ankle and the kid from the chorus, in this case, Peggy, who's come from Allentown, Pennsylvania. She gets her big break. And of course, she can tap dance, and she can do the whole lot brilliantly. And in this instance, the actress who plays Peggy, who was on at the Old Vic and is still on the road with the production, is a brilliant young woman called Nicole Lily Baisden. She is a genius. Her tap dancing is stunning. To be fair, let's be clear, all of the company can tap dance. I'm not sure if Les Dennis is called upon to tap dance. So he may just be there to get maximum laughter from his role, which I'm sure he will do. But these guys who are on the road taking this musical around the country, they are all, as I referenced when we talked about the ballet a couple of weeks ago, these people have more talent in their little finger physically than I can muster across my entire body. And
they are terrific. They are terrific. You know, you sit in the audience, you go, God damn, look at that. You know, it's wonderful.
And when that stage is full of tap dancing feet and the lights are on bright and you know the tunes, I mean, God, the hairs are standing up on the back of my neck just even talking to you about it now. It's such beautiful entertainment. Now it is on for one more night in Milton Keynes. It's not today and tomorrow in Milton Keynes. Then next week the tour goes to Liverpool, and then the week after that it's in Dartford. I mean, gosh, you know, when you're on the road, to say nothing, I think of sometimes some rather squalid digs that actors have to find themselves in. It's a tough life on the road. And I think it's then got a few more gigs before it comes off in the run up to Christmas, and other shows come in, and then it's back again next year. But it's really lovely. Milton Keynes, Liverpool, Dartford. I'm going to give a shout out to the director, Jonathan Church, choreographer in particular, Bill Deemer, absolute genius, really works magic with his cast. And it is a gorgeous, gorgeous night at the theatre. Full stop. The final show.
Well, what more do you want out of life, right? What more do you want? That's it.
The final show that I'm going to touch on, equally brilliant, but desperately different and very difficult, is a play. It's a play it's at the National. They first produced it 11 years ago. It's a play called The Effect. The play is called The Effect, by a rather genius young not so young anymore, genius playwright called Lucy Prebble. And this play is set in a drugs trialing facility where two young people, who here are played by Papa Isidu and Taylor Russell, are two young people who volunteered, obviously over 18, to trial an antidepressant over a 4-week period in a secure residential facility. And there are two medics, two clinicians who are overseeing this drug trial. And we see them at the beginning, and Papa Isidu, his character, who is called Tristan, he is looking to get a shag out of the other volunteer, this girl called Connie. So it's all very macho, that sort of thing. And very, very quickly, the dynamics between the two of them evolve and change. One of them is on the drug, one of them is on a placebo, you don't know who. The writing is exquisite. It was gripping. It's only one act, it's an hour and 40 minutes, and sometimes that can be that time can drag. It really didn't. The two doctors, there's an interesting dynamic between the two doctors that's going on as well. I'm not going to say any more because I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not even sure if you're able to get a ticket for it anymore. It's only on until I'm going to check, the 7th of October, and it could well be sold out. And it's the National Theatre at its best because the scenery is stunning and expensive. And you know,
what's it called again?
It's called The Effect. It's had a lot of money thrown into the staging of it, directed by Jamie Lloyd. And for me, that's what I want to see the National Theatre or the Arts Council spending my money on. Good writing, put together well, very small cast. So they haven't got a massive wages bill. It's only got 4 actors on the stage. It's very, very good. It's very troubling. It's not a pleasant night in the theatre by any means. And as I said in my review,
not much tap dancing then.
No, not much tap dancing. Huh? There is a bit of dancing in it, but it's no music that you'd recognise. No. But what struck me is there's much to chew over in it, but there's also a little bit of a contemplation of the manipulative powers of that phrase "big pharma" and the drug companies.
Yeah, and I think
in this post-pandemic world that Lucy Prebble could barely have contemplated when she wrote her script 11 years ago, the world's physiological reactions to both COVID and the panoply of speedily rolled out vaccines that followed COVID.
It's a miracle.
Offer up some unexpectedly troubling analogies too to think about as you stroll out of the theatre, you know, to get your tube home. Brilliant theatre, can't praise it enough. But
Jonathan,
it's not a lot.
Bless you. That's fantastic. You're very welcome to stay. And frankly, for me, you're one highlight of the week. But for me, there is only one huge highlight of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, you know her, you love her. She is the queen of the silver screen and, to be honest, the flat screen as well in your living room. Chantal Rickards OBE.
I think you said that.
I'm going to say cheerio. I'm going to say thank you for that. And Chantal, hello and goodbye.
Hello and goodbye. Have a good
Jonathan,
weekend.
Bless you. Thank you for everything. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye, Jonathan.
How are you, Russ?
Great. I love listening to him. Fantastic.
Jolly good.
I always say, Chantas, I'm still here.
Very good. Well, that's...
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much. I'm fine.
I was listening to what Jonathan said about the effect and the writer,
you know,
Lucy
about
Preble.
theatre and stuff. I went I was a guest of my chum Hilary O'Neill. Yeah. Oh, do you know Lucy Preble? I don't know Lucy. Do you know her?
I was going to say, well, Lucy Preble was
Lucy Preble,
executive producer on Succession, and her father used to be head of news at ITN. A guy called Stuart.
I've never seen Succession. Sue me. I've never seen Succession. I know. Go ahead. What can I tell you? What can I tell you, gang? I've never seen Succession. I love Brian Cox. He's fantastic. Okay. Right. I was going to say that I went to. I was a guest of my dear friend Hilary O'Neill, and I went to see Matt Daniel Baker, who is a mind reader, and I've seen his show before. Yeah. And I was so impressed. I'm about to see it again. Crazy Cox. I think he has a regular thing. The next one is mid-September or something like that. Just you sit there going, what? How? What? The place was going mad. Very, very clever. Crazy Cox, and his name is Matt Daniel Baker, mind reader.
Wow.
You know it's a trick, but it's genius. That's all I got to say on the subject.
Okay. And did you work it out or not?
Oh no, I can't work it out. No.
Right.
No, okay. And I don't want to. You know what? I don't want to work it out because that spoils the whole thing. I just like sitting there like an absolute muppet, going, "Wow, jeez, how did?" And he works the whole room. I mean, he worked. There you go. It was very nice. Thank you to Hilary for inviting me, and Matt Daniel Baker, nice guy too, very funny as well. Okay, Chantas. What have you seen?
Well, I know I've had a good week. I've seen lots on telly. I've been to the cinema. You and I discussed earlier in the week my cinema viewing, but I yesterday rattled through.
Yes, that's not fair.
No, I'm gonna talk about it in a while, but I'm not going to talk about it yet. It's not something I would obviously talk about. But
please don't talk about our email exchange, for God's sake. Anyway, there we are. All right, I'll leave it. Oh God, I'm in there. I'm in her hands. Why am I nervous? I couldn't imagine. All right. So what have you liked?
Well, I wanted to start with one of my favorite genres, and it's a bit possibly because I'm a girl, but that's not necessarily. It isn't just girls who like rom-coms. But I found the most delightful rom-com that I completely missed 2 years ago when it came out. It's been sort of quietly bubbling away on the BBC. I noticed it because the third series had just started, and it's something called Starstruck. I had literally never heard of it. It completely passed me by. No, it was on BBC Three, and BBC Three normally is aimed at a younger audience. And so I don't often go into BBC Three to find things for the show. But anyway, I saw the reviews for this and I thought, well, it's probably time I caught up with this. And it isn't just aimed at young people. It happens to be about an actor who's in his early 30s and a young New Zealand woman who's sort of slightly... her career's a bit all over the place. She's from New Zealand. She's got a bit of a sort of scratchy relationship history. And these two meet, and the start is a one-night stand. So a little bit like Catastrophe, that was so good on BBC Two with Sharon Horgan. It starts a little bit like that, except for the fact that this girl sleeps with this very, very good British Asian actor whose work I knew a little bit, but not massively well, called Nikesh Patel. The actress is called Rose Matafeo. She's a stand-up. She's a writer and stand-up from New Zealand, but absolutely brilliant. Anyway, they have a relationship on the first night. Finds out the following morning that he is a film star. She simply hadn't recognized him, but she wakes up in his flat the following morning and there are posters of his latest film all over the place. And thereby starts this absolutely enchanting story. They're really quick. They're incredibly bingeable. They're only 22 minutes per episode. There are only 6 episodes.
I like that.
I know, it's perfect. 6 episodes in each series. So I rattled through the first series in 2 hours, basically just over 2 hours. I got through the whole of the first series. And then, in fact, COVID kicked in. And so it was sort of off there for a while. And then immediately they went on to make a second series and a third. I have no idea whether there's going to be a fourth series. In a way, I think it's unlikely, but I don't want to spoil the story by giving you any hints as to what may have happened at the end of the third series. Anyway, it was literally unputdownable. And for me, that's quite a rarity to latch onto something I see all the way through to the end as quickly as I can. Anyway, it's just this little sleeping perfect piece of rom-com gentleness, warm bath, a hot cup of tea television that I just think will put you in a great mood. And it's just lovely to curl up on the sofa with.
I like that.
Starstruck.
That's nice.
Yep. It's just
Starstruck,
it's gentle,
BBC
gentle and warm.
3.
Yeah, BBC. Well, a BBC iPlayer. Yeah.
Oh, BBC iPlayer. Oh, okay. We get that.
So iPlayer or BBC 3. I mean, that's where you'll find it. And there are 18 episodes, and you'll rattle through them at the speed of light. So enjoy. It was just smashing.
Good.
One of those.
Good.
Put me in such a good mood. I can't tell you it put me in such a good mood.
I can see that. I can see that. That's good. That's like me with the martini.
Yeah. It's also got Minnie Driver in it, who's an actress I've met a few times in Hollywood. And I thought Minnie
come on, we want the dirt. Come on. No, you don't just drive past that. Okay.
Terribly nice and incredibly beautiful. Absolutely perfect skin.
I don't like it when you say that. I much like it when I go and you tell me, well, I meant so what was that? What a that's great. I love that. We know who we're talking about.
Indeed. We do. Anyway,
this is good. Graham Pack, this is the influencer you have, Chantal Rickards OBE. Graham Pack says, I'm just downloading the first series for my flight home tonight. There you go.
Excellent.
Right. Well done, you. And Elizabeth Green, naturally in New York City. I watched it. It's great, she says.
Oh, I'm glad you
resonate. You resonate.
Lovely.
Good stuff.
Yeah, charming.
Next up.
So now I'm going to tell you what I went to see at the cinema. Although you and I did chat about it briefly online earlier in the week. Only because, occasionally I'll go to a Boise movie. And I do want to see what the blockbusters
I just like seeing normal... It doesn't have to be a Boise film. I just don't want to sit there going, oh, God. Again.
Okay.
That's all. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you and I are of an age where we will remember a television series called The Equalizer. Do you remember that from the 1980s?
Are you kidding me? With the wonderful Edward Callan?
No, Edward Woodward.
No, Edward Woodward. Edward Woodward, who played Callan.
He played Callan. But in this, I think he's called Robert McCall. But Callan wasn't the character in The Equalizer. Well, I don't think it was. I think Callan was a different series, wasn't it?
Am I going mad? I'm going completely mad here. I'm sorry. I'm talking out of my posterioso.
Okay.
Edward, the great late, much missed Edward Woodward, fantastic actor, played Callan in the TV series with Russell Hunter and other people like that. It was great show, very gritty and very anti-hero. And I've got it confused, of course, because I am stupid and very tired, with The Equalizer. Also, because that was a film he was in that film. Edward Woodward made that film.
Yeah. But it was a TV series originally that was made, I think, by Universal for CBS in the 1980s, which definitely came to the UK. I mean, I can remember seeing it in the 1980s. Anyway, briefly, it's about a retired Navy, American, US Marine defense operator. He's worked inside as an intelligence officer. And for some unknown reason, and I can't for the life of me work out why, he becomes a vigilante. It's never.
I don't think it's ever explained. It's suddenly, what the hell are you doing? You're like the most dangerous man on the planet, and suddenly you're just sitting in a tea shop. What's going on here?
Yeah.
There we are.
So you don't really need to know what's going on, other than the fact that it's basically a good guy who goes around murdering lots of bad guys. And that's sort of it. This time he goes to Sicily. You can only
started. You know how this started? You know how he started on his career? He started with the ULEZ cameras, and it just got out of hand. That's what happened with him. The ULEZ.
Well, it could be.
Anyway,
the body
count.
He's
in Sicily. He's in Sicily this time, is he?
The body count is ridiculously high.
John Wick standards.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. I mean, and you just think, Denzel Washington, who is a terrific actor, but, he's just about to be 70 years old. And you think, why are you still rattling around murdering people for no good reason? Yeah, it's going to be 70 this year.
He looks great.
He does. He's an incredibly good-looking man.
And he's very handsome and very good. He's very good.
Yeah. But you just sort of wonder what it's all about, other than the fact that this franchise,
what do you think it's about? It's about
exactly. They make a lot of money. So I think they spend maybe 40 or 50 million on them, and they normally make about 200 million. So, but this has got much better reviews than either Equalizer 1 or Equalizer 2. You don't really need to know what happened before.
Which I love.
It's a bit of a standalone.
I loved those. By the way, I don't know how I've seen them several times. They're just fantastic. If you like that sort of film, if you like the kind of Jason Statham type of, you know what you're going to get. It's like going for fast food. It's going to be exactly as you expect. And they're terrific.
Yeah,
I love them.
And that's why I mentioned it, because if that's what you like, you'll love it. If it's not your thing, stay away from it. But it's well made. It's pacey. The story is absolutely ridiculous, but you don't really care about that. And it's just a couple of hours of fun at the cinema. So it arrived in cinema either last week or this week. I can't quite remember. So it'll be in cinemas in the UK. I don't think it's come out in the US yet. So Elizabeth Green can't rush out to see it in New York quite yet. I think it's just about
this afternoon. You'd be out this afternoon seeing that.
But it's worth a watch. It's, and it passed the time of day. I scuttled off late one afternoon earlier on in the week to the Putney
thanks for the invitation. No, I was busy. I had things to do.
No, it's the Putney Open. One of the wonderful things about BAFTA is you get free tickets to all the cinemas. So I can go whenever I want. So I managed to...
Hang on. Whoa. Hold your horses, Cochise. You get free tickets to any cinema. Not any cinema.
Well, I think there's one cinema chain that BAFTA fell out with, or they fell out with BAFTA, but otherwise we get either 1 or 2 free tickets to any cinema that we want to go to most of the British cinemas. Yeah.
How terrific is that?
Yeah, well, it's to encourage us to go and watch the films to vote for them. That's the basic idea.
I see. In addition, but when it's voting season, they don't send it. You have to download it now, which is a bit of a faff. But they used to send you the DVDs, didn't they?
Yeah, it used to be DVDs, but those don't exist anymore. So now it's just on a platform, and you just plug in your BAFTA number and you watch. I mean, last year I think it was 227 films, which was quite a lot. But I'm just.
I remember you told me that. She said, I said, how many? I'm thinking like 7. I'm thinking 7 for me would be a lot, right? Oh, 260. What?
Yeah.
For God's sake.
I know. It's really crazy. I watched 120 from beginning to end, and I watched part of all of the others. So I gave it my best shot. I think it deserves it.
I want to ask you a serious question, because it's your business. It's what you've grown up with. You're very senior in it. How long because I've got very picky as I've got older, because I realise life is so short. But it is for me.
Yeah, well, me too.
But for you, no, you're way younger than that. For you, how long do you give a film before you think, not for me, or this is pants, or I'm not wasting any more time? How long?
If I'm voting, if it's something I'm watching for BAFTA purposes, I'll do at least half an hour, because I think that's only fair.
Fair enough.
If it's
That's
something
fair.
if it's something that I'm just watching on Netflix and I'll watch the first 10 minutes
Me
and I
too.
just think it hasn't caught me and the
No.
script's not good, I just move on very quickly. So that's
and I
it.
do
Really.
find it's interesting you say that, because I think, yes, if I was voting, you'd have to give it a fair crack of the whip. But with the Netflix and Amazon movies, you know, I'm out sometimes in like 3 minutes. I go, this is rubbish. It's awful. The acting is terrible. The script's pants. It looks like it was recorded on someone's mobile phone. I'm out of here. You know, life is too short to do that.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, sort of years ago, we would have been much more patient. There was a
heck of a lot less
content. There's so much to choose from. That,
yeah, I agree.
Anyway,
okay,
it is what it is.
Right, it is what it is.
So
that's it.
Then I wanted to, especially
films.
because you and I are of an age and looking down the wrong end of the barrel, as it were. There is a wonderful documentary series that's just started on
wrong
Netflix.
End of the barrel.
Well, it's a documentary series called Live to 100. Now, some people don't want to live to 100.
No,
actually,
no thanks. No. I can hear my daughter now saying, "Oh God, no, don't let him live to 100."
No, you've got to live to 100. This is a 4-part documentary series. It's a bit like a travelogue with this very interesting guy who has traveled, you know, documentary filmmaker, traveled around the world to try and find out where people live longest.
Yeah.
And the whole of the first episode, because I've only seen the first episode, but I think the other 3 episodes are going to be really good. He starts off in Okinawa, a Japanese island, long way south of the central island in Japan. And 81% of the people on Okinawa Island live to 100 or more. I mean, astonishing. Completely astonishing. But the interesting thing is, until that point, they're mostly very healthy, very happy. They live really fulfilled lives. They have this thing called ikigai, which is all about having a sense of purpose and very much plays into what MRS radio station does, which is, you know, try to say to people, have a sense of perspective, give yourself something to do that has purpose in life. And if you watch this program, I thought there were so many sort of mental health understandings and learning that I got from it. I just thought, well, actually, I'm going to do more of this and I'm going to do more of that. Some of it's very basic, which is, you know, more exercise, but a lot of it is about friendship, making sure you're helping to look after other people because you get back in spades what you give out. So many sort of nice ideas about how to live your life. And food is also a really big deal as well, clearly. But it's worth watching, seriously. It's only 4 hours, and I'm definitely going to watch the other 3 hours. I've really enjoyed it. And it's called Live to 100. I think the secondary title is Secrets of the Blue Zone. That's it. Netflix. So maybe you will want to live to 100.
Right.
Or maybe not.
No.
I haven't convinced you.
Well, possibly not. Possibly not going to make it to October.
Oh.
Anyway, no. If I get any more shocks like the vet bill.
Oh no.
Thank you, Graham. That's so sweet. It's only another 10 feels. I don't mind. What's next on your purview?
Oh, well, I rattled through a 5-parter actually on the BBC. With extraordinary title, which sort of dragged me in just because the title was utterly ridiculous, which is The Following Events Are Based on a Pack of Lies. You know, okay, well, I'm not sure where we're going with that. And I don't quite know. It's not really very clear why they've used this long extended title, other than as a sort of, they're dangling the carrot in front of you going, you want to know more. And that's what dragged me in, was the title. But actually it was well reviewed. It's reviewed. It's a black comedy drama. And sometimes the comedy's dialed up, but other times the drama's dialed up. But it's about a con man who sells romantic notions to single women about the fact that, they are the most gorgeous, perfect partner in the whole world possible, but he's basically fleecing them for all their money. So the story starts out in Oxford with a woman walking down a street.
I like him straight away.
I know. Sees a man who was her husband, who fleeced her and her parents for their pension 16 years earlier, and she hasn't seen him since.
Oh, not nice.
And then she finds out that he is pursuing a local authoress, very well-known authoress, who's got a lot of money, and he's pursuing her with the same old claptrap that he had played out on her 16 years earlier. So basically, the women eventually end up working together to bring this guy down. But it's very well done. I really enjoyed it. Again, it's something great. If you've just got a long journey, just put 5 hours on your iPad and take it with you. And then you can dip in and out of it. And it rattles along quite easily. You don't have to watch it all at once. But if you want a weekend binge, it's not bad at all. Very good acting. I loved it. Alistair Petrie, the Scottish actor, is the most horrible man who is at the centre of this, and so convincingly evil that you hang with it because you want to see his downfall. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you any more, other than that, there are twists and turns all the way along, but it's really, really nicely done and worth hanging in with. And the girl who plays the author, the woman who plays the author, is that terrific actress, Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who some people will remember from Secrets and Lies years and years and years ago. But she was also in that rather good American series called Without a Trace, where they were finding...
Yes, I used to watch that. Yeah,
so she flipped between American dramas and British dramas incredibly easy, but she is, in fact, she is a native of London. And a very accomplished actress. She's Oscar nominated, BAFTA nominated, and she plays the person that the guy's going after.
I'm always stunned when I'm such a mug when you see an actor or actress. I'm going to call them that. You get upset. It's not my problem. And really, you think, oh, they're American. Of course, they're American. I've seen them in this show and that. And then they're interviewed or something. You think, wait a minute, you're from like Peckham or somewhere. What's going on? It's extraordinary, isn't it? But that's why they're actors and actresses, because they're damn good.
Funny
that's it. I mean, that's their job. That's their job. Yeah. I'm such a mug. Anything quick? And what was the title of that last one?
This is the one with the ridiculous title, which is the following events are based on a pack of lies.
Right, I've seen that. I don't know if that was a title or it was a caption. I didn't know. I lost the will to live at that point.
I think it came out on BBC One either this week or last week, but it's virtually brand new. But I've only just caught up with it. But worth watching.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
The other offering from ITV this week is called The Tower. It's the second series of a London police, crime drama. 2 actresses who are both coppers. One's a detective. One is a sort of rookie cop. 2 cases. One is a cold case of a missing person from 20 years earlier, and the other one is a domestic violence case. But the characters come together and the stories come together, nicely packaged in 4 1-hours from ITV. Jimmy Akingbola, who's a buddy of mine from Los Angeles, plays one of the other coppers. He's not in it enough as far as I'm concerned, because he's an accomplished actor who gets a bit sort of wasted in this. But it's nicely done. It's an easy watch. It doesn't overly tax you. It's been nicely reviewed. So, and that's called The Tower, and it's on ITV, 4-parter. Are you still there, Russ?
That's good.
I think
I am. It's do you know, this is so annoying because it says, why don't you try plugging into the router? I am plugged in using all the top wiring. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Chantal, thank you so much. As always,
Not
lovely to see you.
And lovely to see you.
Thank you for all your wonderful reviews. And we will see you soon. Thank you so
Very
much.
happy.
Bye. Thank you. Well, that's it. The wonderful Chantal Rickards OBE, who we are very, very lucky to have on the show every Friday. I love her recommendations because they're always damn good. I'll be back with a fair wind on Monday with Neil Long and the gang. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Yes, it's September, so time to start kicking the leaves. Bye, gang. Take care.